The crisp autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves and anticipation as Emma stepped out of the taxi, her eyes drawn to the glowing sign of the Blue Horizon restaurant. Jonathan, her husband of 5 years, emerged from the other side, his smile as polished as his tailored suit. He extended his arm and Emma took it, pushing down a nagging feeling of unease that had been growing over the past few weeks. "Happy anniversary, darling," Jonathan said, his voice smooth as velvet. "I've been looking forward to this all week." Emma forced a smile, her red lipstick a stark contrast to her pale complexion. "Me too, Jonathan. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years already." As they entered the restaurant, the maitre d' greeted them with practiced charm, leading them to a secluded table near the back. The soft lighting and elegant decor created an atmosphere of intimacy, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Jonathan ordered a bottle of champagne, his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "To us," he toasted, raising his glass, "to many more years of happiness." Emma clinked her glass against his, the sound echoing in her ears like a warning bell. She took a sip, the bubbles dancing on her tongue, leaving a bitter aftertaste. As they perused the menu, Emma's gaze darted around the restaurant. She couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. "Jonathan," she whispered, leaning in close, "do you notice anything strange tonight?" Her husband's brow furrowed for a moment before smoothing out. "Strange? No, darling. Everything seems perfect to me. Are you feeling all right?" Emma hesitated, unsure whether to voice her concerns. I feel like someone's watching us. It's probably nothing." Jonathan reached across the table, taking her hand in his. His touch, once comforting, now felt cold and unfamiliar. "Emma, you're being paranoid. Relax and enjoy the evening. I've got a surprise for you later." The waiter arrived with their appetizers, and Emma tried to focus on the food. The shrimp cocktail looked appealing, but as she brought the first bite to her lips, a wave of nausea washed over her. "Is something wrong with the food?" Jonathan asked, noticing her hesitation. Emma shook her head, forcing herself to take a bite. "No, it's fine. I'm just not very hungry, I guess." As the evening progressed, Emma's discomfort grew. She picked at her main course, a perfectly prepared filet mignon, while Jonathan regaled her with stories from work. His words seemed to blur together, and Emma found herself struggling to concentrate. "Emma," Jonathan's voice cut through the fog. "You haven't touched your wine. Is everything okay?" She blinked, realizing she had been staring blankly at her plate. "I'm sorry, I think I might be coming down with something. My stomach feels a bit off." Jonathan's expression shifted, concern mixed with something else Emma couldn't quite place. "Do you want to go home? We can always reschedule." "No," Emma said quickly, not wanting to ruin the evening. "I'll be fine. Let's have dessert." As they waited for their chocolate souffle, Emma excused herself to the restroom. She splashed cold water on her face, trying to shake off the growing sense of dread. Looking in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back at her, pale with dark circles under her eyes. Returning to the table, Emma found Jonathan deep in conversation with the waiter. They stopped abruptly as she approached, and Jonathan flashed her a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "I ordered you a special digestive," he said. "It should help settle your stomach." The waiter placed a small, ornate glass in front of Emma. The liquid inside was a deep amber with an aroma that made her head spin. "What is it?" she asked, eyeing the drink suspiciously. "Just try it," Jonathan urged. "Trust me." Emma raised the glass to her lips, the scent overwhelming her senses. As she took a small sip, a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. The glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the table. "Jonathan," she gasped, clutching her stomach. "Something's wrong. I can't." The room began to spin, voices around her becoming distant and distorted. The last thing Emma saw before darkness engulfed her was Jonathan's face, his expression a mixture of concern and something else, something that looked unsettlingly like satisfaction. As Emma slipped into unconsciousness, the bustling restaurant faded away, leaving her teetering on the edge of a precipice she never saw coming. The anniversary dinner, meant to celebrate love and commitment, had become the stage for a betrayal beyond her darkest nightmares. The Blue Horizon restaurant erupted into chaos as Emma's limp body slumped in her chair. Diners gasped and whispered, their elegant evening shattered by the sudden medical emergency. Jonathan leapt to his feet, his face a mask of concern as he called for help. "Someone call an ambulance," he shouted, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the shocked patrons. The maitre d' rushed over, phone in hand, already dialing emergency services. Jonathan cradled Emma's head, his fingers trembling as he checked for a pulse. "Emma, can you hear me?" Emma, his voice cracked with what seemed like genuine fear, but there was a flicker in his eyes, a momentary hesitation that went unnoticed by the onlookers. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder as the ambulance raced through the Denver streets. Paramedics burst through the restaurant doors, equipment in hand, their faces set with professional determination. "What happened?" the lead paramedic asked, kneeling beside Emma's motionless form. Jonathan's words tumbled out in a rush. "We were having dinner, our anniversary. She complained of feeling unwell, and then she just collapsed." The paramedics worked swiftly, attaching monitors and checking Emma's vital signs. Their expressions grew grim as they exchanged glances. "Her blood pressure's dropping rapidly," one of them announced. "We need to move her now." With practiced efficiency, they transferred Emma onto a stretcher. As they wheeled her out, Jonathan followed close behind, his hand clutching Emma's as if he could anchor her to life through sheer will. The ambulance tore through the night, its siren a desperate cry in the darkness. Inside, the paramedics fought a losing battle. Emma's body was rejecting their efforts, her vital signs plummeting despite their best attempts. "What did she eat?" one of the paramedics asked Jonathan, who sat pale and seemingly shell-shocked. Just some shrimp cocktail and a bit of steak," he stammered. "And champagne. Could it be an allergic reaction?" The paramedic shook his head. "This doesn't look like anaphylaxis." It's almost as if he trailed off, his brow furrowed in concentration as he administered another dose of medication. The hospital emergency room was a flurry of activity as Emma was rushed in. Doctors and nurses swarmed around her, their voices a cacophony of medical jargon and urgent commands. "Female, mid-30s, possible poisoning," the paramedic reported as he handed Emma over to the ER staff. "BP's critically low, respiratory distress, non-responsive to standard treatments." Dr. Sarah Chen, the attending physician, took charge immediately. "Get me a tox screen stat. And prep the gastric lavage. We need to get whatever's in her system out now." Jonathan was ushered to a waiting area, his perfectly pressed suit now rumpled, his face a study in anguish. A nurse approached him with forms to fill out, but his hands shook so badly he could barely hold the pen. Inside the treatment room, Dr. Chen and her team worked feverishly. Emma's body convulsed on the table, fighting against an unseen enemy. "She's coding," the nurse shouted as the heart monitor flatlined. Dr. Chen grabbed the defibrillator paddles. "Charge to 300. Clear." Emma's body arched as the electric current surged through her, but the monitor remained stubbornly flat. Again, "Charge to 360. Clear." The room held its breath as they waited for a response. A faint beep broke the silence, followed by another. Emma's heart had restarted, but she was far from stable. Hours ticked by, each moment a battle between life and death. The doctors tried every treatment they could think of, but Emma's condition continued to deteriorate. Dr. Chen emerged from the treatment room, her face etched with exhaustion and defeat. She approached Jonathan, who stood up, his eyes wild with a mixture of hope and fear. "Mr. Blackwood," she began, her voice heavy, "I'm afraid your wife's condition is critical. We've done everything we can, but her body is shutting down. Whatever's causing this, it's unlike anything I've seen before." Jonathan's knees buckled, and he sank into a chair. "There must be something else you can do," he pleaded, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Chen shook her head. "We're continuing to fight, but you should prepare yourself for the possibility that she might not make it through the night. I'm so sorry." As the doctor walked away, Jonathan buried his face in his hands. To anyone watching, he was the picture of a devastated husband, but hidden from view, a small, satisfied smile played at the corners of his mouth. Back in the treatment room, Emma lay still, machines beeping softly around her. Her skin was ashen, her breathing shallow. The medical staff moved around her with a sense of resigned futility, their earlier urgency replaced by a somber acceptance of the inevitable. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. As the night shift began and the hospital settled into its quieter rhythms, a figure moved through the corridors. Someone who would change the course of Emma's destiny and set in motion a chain of events that would unravel a carefully orchestrated plan. As the hospital corridors dimmed for the night shift, Ashley Martinez made her rounds, pushing her cleaning cart with practiced ease. At 32, she was a study in contrasts, her hands roughened by work, but her eyes sharp with intelligence. Ashley had always been more than just a cleaner. She was a keen observer of life's hidden currents. Growing up in a family of traditional healers, Ashley had absorbed knowledge that most modern medical professionals would dismiss. Her grandmother's words echoed in her mind, "Our gift is to see what others miss, to heal when others have given up." As she approached the IQ, Ashley felt a familiar tingle at the base of her skull, a sensation she had learned to trust. Something was wrong, beyond the usual sorrow and pain that permeated hospital walls. She paused outside Emma's room, her instincts screaming for attention. Through the glass, she saw the pale figure on the bed, surrounded by quietly beeping machines. The chart outside the door told a grim tale: unknown toxin, organ failure imminent, prognosis poor. Ashley's mind raced, recalling similar cases her grandmother had described. Without thinking, she slipped into the room, her eyes scanning Emma's still form. The monitors painted a bleak picture, but Ashley saw something the machines couldn't detect, a faint, pulsing aura that spoke of a life force not yet ready to surrender. "Hold on," Ashley whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of equipment. "I think I can help you." She hesitated for a moment, knowing that what she was about to do could cost her job, or worse, but the urge to act was overwhelming. Ashley reached into her pocket, fingers closing around a small vial her grandmother had given her years ago. "For when all else fails," the old woman had said, pressing the vial into Ashley's hand. "But use it wisely, child. With great power comes great responsibility." Ashley uncapped the vial, her hand steady despite the gravity of the moment. She added 3 drops of the mysterious liquid to Emma's IV line, her lips moving in a silent prayer. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, Emma's fingers twitched. The monitors began to show subtle changes, heart rate strengthening, blood pressure stabilizing. Ashley stepped back, a mix of relief and trepidation washing over her. She had acted on instinct, guided by generations of healing knowledge. But in the world of modern medicine, her actions would be seen as reckless at best, criminal at worst. As if on cue, Dr. Chen burst into the room, alerted by the changing vital signs. Her eyes widened as she took in Emma's improving condition. "This is incredible," Dr. Chen muttered, checking and rechecking the monitors. "I've never seen anything like it." Ashley tried to slip out unnoticed, but Dr. Chen's sharp eyes caught her movement. What are you doing here?" Trapped, Ashley took a deep breath. "I was just cleaning, and I noticed her condition changing," she lied, her heart pounding. Dr. Chen's suspicion was palpable, but the miracle unfolding before her took precedence. She turned back to Emma, calling for additional staff. Ashley seized the opportunity to leave, her mind reeling. She had saved a life, yes, but at what cost? As she pushed her cart down the hallway, she could hear the commotion building behind her, a mix of excitement and confusion as the medical team grappled with Emma's sudden turnaround. The next few hours were a blur. Ashley finished her shift in a daze, her secret burning inside her. By morning, news of the miracle patient had spread throughout the hospital. Emma Blackwood, given up for dead, was now stable and improving by the hour. As Ashley prepared to leave, she overheard 2 doctors discussing the case. "It doesn't make any sense," one said, shaking his head. "It's as if the toxin just disappeared from her system." "Maybe we should consider factors beyond traditional medicine," the other suggested hesitantly. Ashley smiled to herself, a bittersweet expression. She had made a difference, had honored her grandmother's teachings, but she knew that her actions, if discovered, would not be understood or accepted. As she stepped out into the morning sunlight, Ashley felt a strange mix of pride and fear. She had set something in motion, something that would change not only Emma's life but her own as well. The road ahead was uncertain, but Ashley knew one thing for sure: she would not abandon Emma now. Whatever consequences lay ahead, she would face them. Little did Ashley know that her simple act of compassion would unravel a web of deceit and launch her on a journey she could never have imagined. As she walked away from the hospital, the first rays of dawn painted the sky, promising a new beginning for Emma, for Ashley, and for the truth that lay hidden beneath the surface. Dear viewers, if you've been captivated by this tale of mystery, healing, and unexpected heroism, we invite you to join us on this thrilling journey. By subscribing to our channel and turning on notifications, you'll ensure you never miss an update to this gripping story. Stay tuned, and let's unravel this mystery together. The following days unfolded like a whirlwind for Ashley. The hospital buzzed with talk of Emma's miraculous recovery, and whispers of investigation into the unexpected turn of events filled the corridors. Ashley tried to maintain her routine, her heart racing every time she passed Emma's room or overheard discussions about the case. On the 3rd day after the incident, Ashley's fears materialized. She was summoned to the hospital director's office, her palms sweating as she knocked on the imposing oak door. "Come in," a stern voice called from within. Ashley entered, her eyes meeting those of Dr. Jameson, the hospital director, a man known for his unwavering adherence to protocol. Beside him stood Dr. Chen, her expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "Ms. Martinez," Dr. Jameson began, his tone clipped, "we've been reviewing the events surrounding Miss Blackwood's recovery. It seems you were present in her room shortly before her condition improved dramatically." Ashley's throat went dry. "I was doing my rounds, sir. I noticed her monitors changing and called for help." Dr. Chen leaned forward. "Ashley, we've checked the security footage. You were in that room for several minutes before the alarms went off. What exactly happened?" The weight of her secret pressed down on Ashley. She considered lying, but the truth clawed its way out. I gave her something. An herbal remedy my grandmother taught me about. I know it was wrong, but she was dying, and I thought it might help." The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Jameson's face reddened with anger, while Dr. Chen's eyes widened in disbelief. "You administered an unknown substance to a critical patient." Dr. Jameson's voice rose with each word. "Do you have any idea of the legal implications of your actions? The danger you put that woman in?" Ashley stood her ground. "With all due respect, sir, that woman is alive because of what I did. Your treatments weren't working." Dr. Chen intervened, her voice calm but firm. "Ashley, while your intentions may have been good, what you did was incredibly reckless. We have protocols for a reason." The meeting concluded with Ashley's immediate dismissal. As she left the office, the weight of unemployment settled on her shoulders, but it was overshadowed by a deeper concern for Emma. Meanwhile, Emma's recovery progressed rapidly, defying medical expectations. As she regained consciousness, fragmented memories of that fateful night surfaced, along with a growing sense of unease about her husband's behavior. One afternoon, as Emma lay in her hospital bed, she heard a soft knock. Looking up, she saw Ashley hovering uncertainly in the doorway. "Hello," Ashley said softly. "I'm not sure if you remember me, but I'm the woman who saved my life," Emma finished, her voice weak but filled with gratitude. "The nurses told me about you. Please come in." Ashley entered, taking a seat beside Emma's bed. "How are you feeling?" "Better, thanks to you," Emma replied, but confused. "There's so much I don't understand about what happened." As they talked, a bond began to form between the two women. Emma sensed in Ashley a kindred spirit, someone who had risked everything to help a stranger. Ashley, in turn, felt drawn to Emma's warmth and the mystery surrounding her near-death experience. "Ashley," Emma said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "I need to tell you something. I don't think my poisoning was an accident. I've been having doubts about my husband, about our relationship. That night at the restaurant, something felt off." Ashley leaned in, her instincts on high alert. "What do you mean?" Emma's eyes darted nervously to the door. "Jonathan's behavior has been strange lately. Secretive phone calls, unexplained absences. And that night, he insisted I try a special digestive he ordered. Right after I drank it, everything went black." The pieces started to fall into place in Ashley's mind. The unknown toxin, the resistance to standard treatments, the husband's controlled demeanor during the crisis. It all pointed to a chilling conclusion. "Emma," Ashley said, her voice steady, "I think we need to investigate this further, but we have to be careful. If what you're suggesting is true, you might still be in danger." Emma nodded, fear and determination mingling in her eyes. "I trust you, Ashley. I don't know why, but I feel like you're the only person I can count on right now." As they continued to talk, formulating a plan to uncover the truth, neither woman noticed the shadow that briefly darkened the doorway, a figure listening intently before silently slipping away. Outside the hospital, Jonathan Blackwood sat in his car, his knuckles white as he gripped the steering wheel. His carefully laid plans were unraveling, thanks to the meddling of a lowly cleaning woman. He had underestimated Ashley Martinez, but he wouldn't make that mistake again. As the sun set over Denver, casting long shadows across the city, the stage was set for a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Emma and Ashley, united by circumstance and a growing friendship, stood on one side. On the other, hidden in the shadows, lurked forces determined to silence them both. The truth lay somewhere in between, buried beneath layers of deception and betrayal. As night fell, Ashley made a silent vow to protect Emma and uncover the sinister plot that had nearly claimed her life. Little did she know that her own life was now inextricably linked to this unfolding drama, and the path ahead was fraught with peril. In the quiet of her hospital room, Emma drifted off to sleep, comforted by Ashley's presence. And in a small apartment across town, Ashley began her own investigation, determined to bring the truth to light, no matter the cost. The game was afoot, and the stakes could not be higher. The crisp morning air bit at Ashley's cheeks as she adjusted her wig and straightened her blazer. She hardly recognized herself in the reflection of the office building's glass doors. Gone was the hospital cleaner. In her place stood a confident HR consultant, ready to infiltrate Emma's workplace. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, pushing through the revolving doors and into the sleek lobby of Blackwood Enterprises. At the reception desk, Ashley presented her fake credentials with a steady hand. "Ashley Johnson, external HR consultant. I have an appointment with Mr. Blackwood." The receptionist nodded, handing her a visitor's badge. "15th floor. Mr. Blackwood's assistant will meet you there." As the elevator climbed, Ashley's mind raced through her plan. She needed to observe Jonathan, gauge his demeanor, and hopefully catch a glimpse of Deborah, the colleague Emma had mentioned as a potential threat. The elevator doors opened to a bustling office floor. Men and women in sharp suits hurried past, their faces set in expressions of determination and stress. Ashley took a deep breath and stepped out, her eyes scanning for Jonathan's office. Ms. Johnson, a petite woman with a tight bun, approached. "I'm Clara, Mr. Blackwood's assistant. He's running a few minutes late. Can I show you to the conference room?" Ashley nodded, following Clara through a maze of cubicles. As they walked, she casually asked, "I heard there was some excitement recently with one of the executives. Mrs. Blackwood, was it?" Clara's step faltered slightly. "Yes, it was quite a shock, but Mr. Blackwood has been handling everything admirably. He's even been covering some of Mrs. Blackwood's responsibilities." They reached the conference room, and Clara left Ashley to wait. Through the glass walls, she had a perfect view of the office floor. Her eyes darted from face to face, looking for any sign of Deborah. Suddenly, a commotion near the elevators caught her attention. Jonathan Blackwood had arrived, his presence commanding instant respect from those around him. Ashley watched as he strode through the office, his face a mask of professionalism. But there was something in his eyes, a coldness that sent a shiver down her spine. As Jonathan approached the conference room, Ashley quickly busied herself with her tablet. The door opened, and she looked up, meeting his gaze with a practiced smile. "Mr. Blackwood, thank you for meeting with me. I'm Ashley Johnson from HR Solutions." Jonathan's handshake was firm, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Of course, Ms. Johnson. I apologize for the delay. Shall we begin?" For the next hour, Ashley played her role perfectly, asking standard questions about company culture and employee satisfaction. All the while, she observed Jonathan closely, noting the tension in his shoulders and the way his eyes frequently darted to his phone. As they wrapped up, Ashley decided to take a risk. "Mr. Blackwood, I couldn't help but hear about your wife's recent health scare. I hope she's recovering well." Jonathan's smile tightened almost imperceptibly. "Yes, thank you. Emma is doing much better. It was quite a shock to all of us." Just then, a knock at the door interrupted them. A striking woman with auburn hair entered, her eyes locking onto Jonathan with an intensity that made Ashley's instincts flare. "I'm sorry to interrupt," the woman said, her voice honey-sweet. "Jonathan, we need your input on the Meridian project." Jonathan nodded. "Of course, Deborah. I'll be right there." He turned back to Ashley. "I'm afraid we'll have to cut this short, Ms. Johnson. My assistant will see you out." As Ashley gathered her things, she caught a glimpse of Jonathan and Deborah walking away, their heads close together in hushed conversation. The way Deborah's hand lingered on Jonathan's arm spoke volumes. Back in the elevator, Ashley's mind whirled with new information. Jonathan's controlled demeanor, the underlying tension, and Deborah's obvious familiarity with him. It all pointed to a web of deceit, far more complex than she had imagined. Exiting the building, Ashley ducked into a nearby cafe. She needed to process what she'd seen and plan her next move. As she sipped her coffee, a shadow fell across her table. Looking up, she froze. Deborah stood there, a predatory smile on her face. "Ms. Johnson, was it? I couldn't help but notice your interest in the Blackwoods. Perhaps we should have a chat." Ashley's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. "Of course, Ms. Reynolds." Deborah Reynolds. Deborah slid into the seat opposite Ashley. "Now, why don't you tell me who you really are and what you're doing snooping around our company?" The air crackled with tension as the two women faced off. Ashley realized she had underestimated the complexity of the situation and the danger she now found herself in. One wrong move could jeopardize everything, including Emma's safety. As the cafe bustled around them, oblivious to the high-stakes confrontation unfolding in their midst, Ashley took a deep breath. She had come too far to back down now. Whatever game Deborah and Jonathan were playing, she was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Dear viewers, if you've been on the edge of your seat following Ashley's daring investigation and the web of intrigue surrounding Emma's near-fatal poisoning, we want to hear from you. Leave a comment with the number 1 to let us know you're hooked on this thrilling story and crave more tales of mystery, courage, and unexpected heroism. The tension in the interrogation room was palpable as Emma sat rigidly, her eyes fixed on the door. Ashley stood by her side, a comforting presence in the storm that was about to break. The air felt thick with anticipation, charged with the weight of revelations to come. Detective Sarah Reeves entered first, her face a mask of professional detachment. She nodded to Emma and Ashley before taking her seat across the table. "Mrs. Blackwood, Ms. Martinez, thank you for coming in today. We have some questions regarding the events surrounding your hospitalization, Mrs. Blackwood." Emma's hands trembled slightly as she clasped them on the table. "Of course, Detective. I want to get to the bottom of this as much as you do." The door opened again, and Jonathan strode in, his lawyer close behind. His eyes met Emma's briefly, a flicker of something unreadable passing between them. As he sat down, Ashley couldn't help but notice the slight tremor in his usually steady hands. Detective Reeves began, her voice steady and calm. "Mr. Blackwood, we've uncovered some discrepancies in your statement regarding the night of your anniversary dinner. Would you care to clarify a few points for us?" Jonathan leaned forward, his lawyer whispering something in his ear before he spoke. "Certainly, Detective. What seems to be the issue?" "We have evidence suggesting that the substance found in Mrs. Blackwood's system was not a result of accidental food contamination, but rather a deliberate poisoning." The detective's words hung in the air, heavy with accusation. Emma gasped, her eyes widening as she turned to look at Jonathan. His face remained impassive, but a muscle twitched in his jaw. "That's preposterous," Jonathan's lawyer interjected. "My client had nothing to do with any poisoning. This is clearly a case of food mishandling at the restaurant." Detective Reeves pulled out a file, laying photographs on the table. "These were found in your car, Mr. Blackwood. A vial of a substance matching what was found in your wife's system, along with a prescription in your name. Care to explain?" The color drained from Jonathan's face as he stared at the evidence before him. Emma's breath caught in her throat, her worst fears confirmed in that moment. I can explain," Jonathan stammered, his composure cracking. "It's not what it looks like." But as he fumbled for words, the door burst open once more. Deborah Reynolds was escorted in by another detective, her face a mix of fury and fear. "Don't say another word, Jonathan," she shouted. "They're trying to trap us both." The room erupted into chaos. Jonathan's lawyer demanded to know why Deborah was there. Detective Reeves tried to restore order, and Emma sat frozen, her world crumbling around her. In the midst of the commotion, Ashley's eyes met Emma's. In that silent exchange, a decision was made. Emma stood slowly, her voice cutting through the noise with unexpected strength. "I want to know the truth, Jonathan. All of it. No more lies." The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Jonathan. He looked from Emma to Deborah, then back to the detective. The weight of his secret seemed to physically press down on him, and in that moment, something inside him broke. "I never meant for it to go this far," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "It started as a way to secure the company's future. Emma, your position. It was in the way of a merger that would have made us all rich beyond our wildest dreams." Emma's voice shook with disbelief and anger. "So you tried to kill me? For money?" Jonathan's shoulders sagged. "Deborah and we've been working on this deal for months. We thought if you were out of the picture, temporarily incapacitated, I could push the merger through. The poison was supposed to make you sick, not almost kill you." Deborah lunged forward, her eyes wild. "Shut up, Jonathan. They have nothing on us." But it was too late. The floodgates had opened, and Jonathan's confession poured out. He detailed the plan to slowly poison Emma, to take control of her shares in the company, and to complete a merger that would have lined their pockets at the expense of hundreds of employees. As Jonathan spoke, Emma felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. The betrayal hurt, yes, but with each word, she felt the bonds of her old life falling away. She looked at Ashley, the woman who had risked everything to save her and uncover the truth, and felt a surge of gratitude. Detective Reeves moved quickly, reading Jonathan and Deborah their rights as other officers entered to take them into custody. The lawyer sat stunned, his carefully prepared defense now useless in the face of his client's confession. As Jonathan was led away, he turned to Emma one last time. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice hollow. "I never meant for it to end like this." Emma stood tall, her voice steady as she replied. "No, Jonathan, you never meant for it to end at all. Goodbye." The interrogation room emptied, leaving Emma and Ashley alone in the aftermath of the storm. Emma's legs finally gave way, and she sank into a chair, tears flowing freely. Ashley knelt beside her, taking her hand. "It's over, Emma. You're safe now." Emma looked up, a mix of pain and relief in her eyes. "What do I do now, Ashley? My whole life, it was all a lie." Ashley squeezed her hand gently. "You start over, and you're not alone. I'll be here, every step of the way." As they left the police station, stepping into the bright sunlight of a new day, Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in years she felt truly free. The truth had come at a high price, but as Emma and Ashley walked away from the shattered remnants of Emma's old life, they both knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning born from ashes, forged in the fires of betrayal, but one that held the promise of something genuine and true. To our dear viewers, we see you. We feel your hearts racing, your minds whirling with the shocking revelations you've just witnessed. Keep you on the edge of your seats. The days following Jonathan's confession were a whirlwind of legal meetings, press conferences, and emotional upheaval for Emma. She found herself thrust into a spotlight she never wanted, her personal tragedy becoming fodder for tabloids and business journals alike. Through it all, Ashley remained a steadfast presence, offering support and a shoulder to lean on. One crisp autumn morning, Emma sat in her lawyer's office, staring out the window as the city bustled below. The weight of decisions yet to be made hung heavy in the air. "Mrs. Blackwood," her lawyer began, his voice gentle but firm, "we need to discuss the next steps regarding your divorce and the company's future." Emma turned, her eyes tired but resolute. "Of course, Mr. Harris. What are my options?" Mr. Harris spread several documents on the desk between them. "Given the circumstances of Jonathan's actions, we have a strong case for a divorce settlement that leaves you in control of your shares in the company. However, there's also the matter of the attempted merger and the potential fallout for the employees." Emma nodded, her mind racing. She had spent sleepless nights pondering the fate of the company and the people who depended on it for their livelihoods. "I don't want innocent people to suffer because of Jonathan's greed," she said firmly. "There is another option," Mr. Harris suggested, pulling out a different set of papers. "You could use this as an opportunity for a complete restructuring. Divest yourself from the company entirely, start fresh." The idea sent a jolt through Emma. A clean break, a chance to redefine herself away from the shadow of Blackwood Enterprises. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "I'll need some time to think about it," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. As she left the office, Emma found Ashley waiting for her in the lobby. The sight of her friend brought a small smile to her face, a rare occurrence in recent days. "How did it go?" Ashley asked, falling into step beside Emma as they exited the building. Emma sighed, running a hand through her hair. "It's overwhelming. There's so much to consider, so many lives affected by every decision I make." They walked in companionable silence for a while, the autumn leaves crunching beneath their feet. Finally, Emma spoke again, her voice filled with a mix of uncertainty and hope. "Ashley, what would you do if you could start all over? If you had the chance to completely reinvent your life?" Ashley considered the question carefully. "I think," she said slowly, "I'd want to do something meaningful. Something that could make a real difference in people's lives." Emma nodded, a spark of an idea beginning to form in her mind. "That's what I want too. All this wealth, this power, it should be used for something good, shouldn't it?" Over the next few weeks, Emma threw herself into research and planning. She met with financial advisors, charity organizations, and legal experts. With each meeting, her vision became clearer, her purpose more defined. Finally, the day came for Emma to make her decision public. Standing before a room full of reporters, company executives, and employees, she took a deep breath and began to speak. For years, Blackwood Enterprises has been focused on profit at any cost. Today, that changes. I am announcing my decision to step down as CEO and majority shareholder. The company will be restructured as a worker-owned cooperative, with profits shared among all employees. A gasp rippled through the crowd, followed by a buzz of excited whispers. Emma continued, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Furthermore, I will be using my personal assets to establish a foundation dedicated to supporting victims of domestic abuse and corporate fraud. It's time for us to use our resources to uplift those who have been silenced and exploited." As Emma finished her speech, the room erupted in applause. She caught sight of Ashley in the back, beaming with pride, and felt a warmth spread through her chest. This was more than just a new beginning for her. It was a chance to create real, lasting change. Later that evening, Emma and Ashley sat on the balcony of Emma's apartment, watching the sun set over the city skyline. A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only by the distant sounds of traffic below. "I'm proud of you," Emma, Ashley said softly, "what you did today. It's going to change so many lives for the better." Emma smiled, a genuine, unguarded expression that reached her eyes for the first time in months. "I couldn't have done it without you, Ashley. You gave me more than just a second chance at life. You showed me what true friendship and courage look like." As the last rays of sunlight painted the sky in hues of pink and gold, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road ahead would not be easy, but with Ashley by her side and a newfound purpose in her heart, she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The story of Emma Blackwood, once a tale of betrayal and near tragedy, had transformed into one of hope, redemption, and the power of human connection. And as night fell over the city, two friends raised their glasses in a quiet toast to new beginnings and the endless possibilities that lay before them. To our cherished viewers who have journeyed with us through every twist and turn of this captivating tale, we extend our heartfelt gratitude. Your presence makes this narrative come alive, and we can't wait to share the powerful conclusion with you. Thank you for being an integral part of this storytelling experience. The dawn of a new era broke over Denver as Emma and Ashley stood before the freshly painted sign, Safe Haven Foundation. The immodest building, once a neglected community center, now gleamed with promise and purpose. Emma's vision of creating a sanctuary for victims of domestic abuse and corporate fraud was finally taking shape. "I can't believe we're really doing this," Emma said, her voice a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Ashley squeezed her hand reassuringly. "We are, and it's going to change lives." The journey to this moment had been far from easy. The months following Emma's public announcement had been a whirlwind of legal battles, financial restructuring, and countless sleepless nights. Every step of the way, Ashley had been there, offering support, insight, and sometimes just a shoulder to cry on. As they pushed open the doors and stepped inside, the enormity of their task hit them. Empty rooms awaited furnishing, bare walls cried out for warmth, and the silence echoed with the voices of those they hoped to help. "Where do we even start?" Emma wondered aloud, her eyes scanning the space. Ashley pulled out a well-worn notebook, one step at a time. "Let's begin with the basics: shelter, counseling, legal aid." Over the next few weeks, Safe Haven began to take shape. Emma's financial resources and business acumen, combined with Ashley's practical experience and compassion, proved to be a powerful combination. They hired a small but dedicated staff, each member carefully chosen for their expertise and empathy. The first challenge came sooner than expected. Late one night, as Emma and Ashley were finalizing plans for the counseling center, a frantic knock echoed through the building. At the door stood a young woman, bruised and trembling, clutching a small child to her chest. "Please," she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. "I didn't know where else to go." Without hesitation, Ashley sprang into action, ushering the woman and child inside, while Emma quickly prepared a room. As they worked to settle the new arrivals, exchanging glances of determination, both women realized this was why they had created Safe Haven. Word spread quickly about the foundation's work. Soon, more women began to seek refuge, each with a unique story of survival. Emma and Ashley found themselves working around the clock, navigating the complex web of legal, emotional, and practical support their clients needed. One particularly challenging case involved Sarah, a former executive who had been silenced and forced out of her company after uncovering fraudulent practices. Her story hit close to home for Emma, who recognized the familiar tactics of corporate manipulation and intimidation. "We're not just providing a temporary shelter," Emma realized as she worked with Sarah to build a legal case. "We're giving these women the tools to reclaim their lives and fight back." As Safe Haven grew, so did the challenges. Funding became a constant concern, with Emma dipping into her personal savings more than once to keep programs running. The emotional toll of hearing traumatic stories day after day began to weigh heavily on both women. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Ashley found Emma sitting alone in the darkened office, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know if I'm strong enough for this," Emma confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Ashley knelt beside her, taking her hands. "You are, we are. Together, remember. Every life we touch, every woman we help stand on her own feet again, that's what makes us strong." As months turned into a year, Safe Haven's impact began to ripple through the community. Women who had once sought refuge now returned as volunteers, their strength and resilience inspiring newcomers. The foundation's legal team celebrated victories in court, holding abusers and corrupt corporations accountable. Emma and Ashley's work caught the attention of local media, bringing both support and scrutiny. They faced opposition from those who felt threatened by their mission, including former associates of Jonathan Worsom who feared exposure of their own misdeeds. Despite the challenges, Safe Haven continued to grow. Emma's business expertise helped secure sustainable funding through grants and partnerships, while Ashley's grassroots approach ensured they remained connected to the community they served. On the eve of Safe Haven's first anniversary, Emma and Ashley stood once again before the building, marveling at how far they had come. "Do you remember that first night?" Ashley asked, a smile playing on her lips, "when we had no idea what we were doing?" Emma laughed, the sound lighter and more carefree than it had been in years. "We still don't some days, but we're figuring it out." As they watched the sun set, casting a warm glow over the Safe Haven sign, both women felt a profound sense of purpose. They had created more than just a foundation, they had built a community of hope, resilience, and empowerment. The road ahead was still long and uncertain, but Emma and Ashley were ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Together, they had transformed their own pain and struggles into a force for good, touching countless lives in the process. As night fell and the lights of Safe Haven flickered on, illuminating the path for those seeking refuge, Emma and Ashley shared a quiet moment of gratitude for the second chances they had been given, for the strength they had found in each other, and for the opportunity to make a real difference in the world. Little did they know that their journey was far from over, and that the coming years would bring new tests, triumphs, and transformations beyond anything they could have imagined. As the years passed, Safe Haven flourished under Emma and Ashley's dedicated leadership. The foundation became a beacon of hope for countless women, but the demanding work took its toll on both women's personal lives. They found themselves so immersed in helping others that they rarely took time for themselves. One crisp autumn morning, Emma sat in her office, poring over financial reports. The lines of numbers blurred before her tired eyes, a testament to another late night. A gentle knock on the door broke her concentration. "Come in," she called, rubbing her eyes. Ashley entered, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. "You look like you could use this," she said, placing one mug on Emma's desk. Emma smiled gratefully. "You're a lifesaver as always." As they sipped their coffee, Ashley broached a subject they'd both been avoiding. "Emma, when was the last time you did something just for yourself? Something not related to Safe Haven?" Emma's brow furrowed. I can't remember," she admitted, "but there's always so much to do here." Ashley nodded, understanding all too well. "I think it's time we both took a step back and focused on our personal growth. We can't pour from empty cups." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion in the hallway. They rushed out to find a new arrival, a woman named Sophia, being comforted by one of the staff members. Her story of escaping an abusive relationship reminded both Emma and Ashley of why they had started Safe Haven in the first place. As they helped Sophia settle in, Emma and Ashley exchanged a look of silent understanding. They needed to find a balance between their work and their personal lives. Over the next few months, both women made conscious efforts to explore interests outside of Safe Haven. Emma rediscovered her love for painting, spending weekends at local art classes. The act of creating something beautiful from a blank canvas brought her a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. Ashley, meanwhile, began volunteering at a community garden. The simple act of nurturing plants and watching them grow provided a different kind of fulfillment from her work at Safe Haven. It was during one of these gardening sessions that Ashley met Matthew, a kind-hearted landscaper with a passion for environmental conservation. Their shared interests sparked a connection, and Ashley found herself looking forward to their conversations each week. As Ashley's relationship with Matthew blossomed, Emma felt a mix of joy for her friend and a twinge of loneliness. She had thrown herself so completely into Safe Haven that the idea of romantic love seemed foreign. One evening, as Emma was leaving an art gallery showcase where her work was displayed, she quite literally bumped into Ronald, a charming art critic. Their chance encounter led to a lively discussion about contemporary art over coffee, and Emma was surprised to find herself laughing and genuinely enjoying the conversation. As both women navigated these new personal developments, they found that it enhanced rather than detracted from their work at Safe Haven. Their renewed energy and broader perspectives brought fresh ideas to the foundation. Emma's relationship with Ronald progressed slowly, but steadily. He respected her dedication to Safe Haven and often offered insights from his own experiences in the non-profit art world. Emma found herself opening up to the possibility of love again, albeit cautiously. Ashley and Matthew's relationship deepened, with Matthew becoming a regular volunteer at Safe Haven. His calm presence and practical skills proved invaluable during the renovation of a new wing of the shelter. One sunny afternoon, Emma and Ashley sat in the Safe Haven garden, watching as residents tended to the vegetable patches Matthew had helped design. "I never thought I'd find this kind of happiness again," Emma confessed, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "After everything with Jonathan, I was so afraid to trust." Ashley squeezed her friend's hand. "You deserve to find joy, Emma. We both did. And look at what we've created here, not just Safe Haven, but lives full of purpose and love." As they sat in companionable silence, reflecting on their journey, a young woman approached them. It was Sophia, now barely recognizable from the broken soul who had arrived months ago. Her face glowed with newfound confidence. "I just wanted to thank you both," Sophia said, her voice strong and clear. "Safe Haven didn't just give me shelter, it gave me my life back. I'm starting college next month." Emma and Ashley embraced Sophia, their hearts full. As she walked away, they turned to each other, eyes shining with pride and emotion. "We did it, didn't we?" Ashley said softly. Emma nodded, a serene smile on her face. "We really did. And we found ourselves in the process." As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the Safe Haven grounds, Emma and Ashley realized that their journey of personal growth was far from over. They had learned to balance their passion for helping others with their own needs for love, creativity, and self-discovery. The path ahead was filled with promise, for Safe Haven, for the women they helped, and for their own lives. They had not only survived the trials of their past, but had thrived, creating a legacy of hope and resilience that would continue to touch lives for years to come. As they walked back into the Safe Haven building, arm in arm, Emma and Ashley knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, stronger, wiser, and more complete than ever before. The sun rose over Denver, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, as if nature itself was celebrating the momentous day. It was the 10th anniversary of Safe Haven, and the air buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Emma stood at the window of her office, taking in the view of the expanded campus that now included multiple buildings, each dedicated to a different aspect of their mission. Ashley entered, carrying 2 mugs of steaming coffee. "Can you believe it's been 10 years?" she asked, handing one to Emma. Emma shook her head, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday, and other times like a lifetime." Ashley finished. They clinked their mugs together in a silent toast to their journey. The day unfolded in a whirlwind of activity. Volunteers scurried about, hanging banners and arranging chairs for the upcoming ceremony. Former residents arrived, their faces beaming with pride and gratitude. Each one had a story of transformation, of lives rebuilt from the ashes of abuse and despair. As the ceremony began, Emma took the stage, her heart pounding with emotion. She looked out at the sea of faces, supporters, staff, and most importantly, the women whose lives had been touched by Safe Haven. 10 years ago, Emma began, her voice strong and clear. "I stood at the lowest point of my life, betrayed, nearly killed, and lost. But from that darkness came a light, a friendship that saved me in more ways than one." She smiled at Ashley, who stood at the side of the stage, eyes glistening with unshed tears. Safe Haven was born from our shared vision of turning pain into purpose. Today we celebrate not just our foundation's anniversary, but the strength and resilience of every woman who has walked through our doors. As Emma spoke, a slideshow played behind her, showcasing the milestones of the past decade. Images flashed by: the ribbon cutting of their first building, the graduation ceremony of their inaugural job training program, the opening of the on-site daycare center. Ashley took the stage next, her presence commanding and compassionate. "When we started this journey, we had no idea how far it would take us. Today, Safe Haven is more than just a shelter. It's a community, a family, a place where broken spirits are mended and new beginnings are forged." The audience listened raptly as Ashley shared stories of triumph, women who had gone from victims to advocates, from despair to hope. She spoke of the challenges they'd faced, the opposition they'd overcome, and the countless lives that had been changed. As the ceremony continued, various speakers took the stage: former residents, community partners, and even local officials who had supported Safe Haven's mission. Each testimony added another thread to the tapestry of hope and change that Emma and Ashley had woven over the years. One of the most poignant moments came when Sophia, the woman who had arrived at Safe Haven broken and afraid years ago, stood to speak. Now a successful lawyer and advocate for domestic abuse survivors, she embodied the transformative power of Safe Haven's work. "Safe Haven didn't just give me a roof over my head," Sophia said, her voice strong with emotion. "It gave me back my voice, my power, and my future. Emma and Ashley showed me that my past doesn't define me and that I have the strength to rewrite my story." As the day wore on, the celebration moved to the gardens, a symbol of growth and renewal that had become central to Safe Haven's healing process. Laughter and conversation filled the air as current and former residents mingled with supporters and staff. Emma and Ashley found a quiet moment amidst the festivities, sitting on a bench overlooking the flourishing vegetable patches and blooming flower beds. "Did you ever imagine we'd come this far?" Ashley asked, her eyes scanning the joyful crowd. Emma shook her head, a sense of awe in her voice. "Never, but I'm so grateful we did." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the grounds, Emma and Ashley gathered everyone for a final address. Standing side by side, they looked out at the faces of those whose lives they had touched and who had, in turn, touched theirs. "Safe Haven began as a dream born from adversity," Emma said. "Today it stands as a testament to the power of compassion, perseverance, and community." Ashley continued, "As we look to the future, we remain committed to our mission. But we also recognize that the true strength of Safe Haven lies not in these buildings or programs, but in each of you, in your courage, your resilience, and your unwavering support." As their words hung in the air, a sense of unity and purpose washed over the crowd. The journey of the past 10 years had been challenging, but the impact was undeniable. Lives had been saved, spirits renewed, and a community of survivors and allies had been forged. The celebration ended with a candlelight vigil, each flame representing a life touched by Safe Haven. As the soft glow illuminated faces young and old, there was a palpable sense of hope and determination, a collective promise to continue the work of healing and empowerment for years to come. As Emma and Ashley watched the sea of flickering lights, they knew that their journey was far from over. There would be new challenges to face, more lives to touch, and endless opportunities to grow and evolve. But with the strength of their friendship and the support of the community they had built, they were ready for whatever the future might hold. The 10th anniversary of Safe Haven was not just a celebration of the past, but a beacon lighting the way forward, a reminder that from the darkest moments can come the brightest hope, and that together anything is possible. To our beloved viewers, your unwavering support has been the driving force behind this incredible journey. We invite you to share your thoughts and feelings about Emma and Ashley's story in the comments section below. Your insights and reactions are invaluable to us and help shape the stories we bring to you. If this tale of resilience and hope has touched your heart, please consider liking and sharing it with others who might find inspiration in these words. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more compelling narratives that celebrate the human spirit. Together, we can spread messages of hope and transformation, one story at a time. Thank you for being a part of this amazing community.